What's up, BBB fam, and welcome to episode 19 of the Bacon, Bibles, and Barbells podcast. I am your only host, Mike. It's just going to be me, but I hope I can still make this episode a great one for you guys and give away some useful information. So what it's going to be centered on is 7 tools that I use to fuel my strength. So some different products that hopefully give you some actionable ideas of what you can maybe incorporate or purchase to help fuel your strength. And so I'm feeling pumped right now, guys. Just got my coffee in, and I'm actually going to be continuing into a cut which I thought Thanksgiving break would get me off track. But over Thanksgiving break, I actually lost 0.5 pounds, even though I really didn't count my calories at all for the week, which is very, very unheard of on my end. But I'm guessing because I probably had a little lower protein than usual, and maybe it's because I took a couple days off taking creatine. Who knows? I lost 0.5 pounds. If it's actual fat, who knows? But I was expecting to gain a couple pounds at Thanksgiving, so I'm pretty pumped about that. Going to continue my cut this week. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be eating some more volume. So the worst thing I hate when I'm cutting back calories is not having the same volume of food. So one of the tasty snacks I'm going to be going to is light popcorn. It's got a lot of volume for the amount of calories, and it also has some decent amount of fiber. So there's my recommendation for you guys. If you're cutting, get some light butter popcorn. And so in addition to making some simple swaps to increase food volume, I'll be adding in some walks for about an hour for 5 days a week to burn some extra calories. So going strong with my cut, and I'm going to be listening to some podcasts, or maybe calling my fiance as I go on those walks. So I'm trying to make this cut as least tedious as possible so I could get down to about 194 or 198. So I'm not too far if I want to go back down to competing in 181, but I'm also right there at 198 if I want to compete there as well, which is a much more comfortable weight for me. So eat some light popcorn and listen to some podcasts, or call someone and go for a walk and burn some calories. Those are my 2 tips to start off right off the bat. But for this episode, we're going to be talking about, again, 7 tools I use to increase my strength in the gym. I think you guys are really going to dig this. Even if you're familiar with some of these tools already, you definitely will be able to take away some great information. So let's get started. Alright, so tool number 1 I use, and I guess I should clarify by tool, it's really just like products, things you could buy, equipment or gear. This is going to be, I'll just admit from the front that this is going to be a little more heavily emphasis for powerlifters in specific, since that, is my trade, but I think, again, you guys could take away some great information. So the number 1 thing I have on here, I should clarify, this probably isn't in any particular order, but the first one I'm going to be talking about is knee sleeves. So knee sleeves are worn, obviously they're a sleeve for your knee, obviously, and they go around your knees when you're performing the squat. And so they were created to provide your knee joint with moderate compression in order to keep them warm and safe. They will keep your knees warm, which will prevent tendinitis and other annoying issues that often crop up with creaky joints. So, in my personal experience, my strength has gone up significantly when I started to incorporate using knee sleeves. And so, whether the knee sleeves themselves are increasing my strength, I don't know if you can find that direct causal relationship. However, there definitely is a correlation between the two. If your knees are warm and safe, you're going to be able to squat more. And if you squat more, your strength is going to increase. So you can add more volume and weight without discomfort, and therefore you're going to increase your strength. And so I also want to clarify that I'm not speaking about knee wraps. I have a pair of knee wraps, however, I don't use them. And so what knee wraps are, they're wraps, obviously, that are tied around your knee very tightly. And this is used mainly for powerlifters in competition or for later stages of their peaking for a meet. And so it's just to squeeze out as much extra weight as possible. It's to make your knees as tight as possible so you can push out some extra pounds. If you're competing in raw, not every federation considers knee wraps as raw. And so if you use knee sleeves, it's almost like the raw, and knee wraps is kind of the just raw. I don't know, but so knee wraps are not considered raw in every federation, and I wouldn't recommend them unless you're kind of intermediate or advanced powerlifter that's looking to squeeze out some extra pounds. Like I said, I have a pair, and I haven't used them for a meet or for training yet, just because you need someone else to tie them really tight, and I really don't have that luxury. So just stick to knee sleeves if you're just looking for general squatting, or if you're just kind of getting more into powerlifting. It's something that I would definitely recommend for everyone. And if you don't have this, you're probably going to want to get one. Just as you put on more weight, you're going to need more comfort in your knee joints. So there's two different types of knee sleeves that I would recommend. You can either get one that's kind of just meant for pure comfort and just for pure squatting, and there's other ones that are going to be a little more tighter to not like knee wraps, but they're going to be more for like competition, or if you're really trying to increase your strength the most. So if you're just looking for general comfort and keep your knees warm and keep your knee joints just tight, I would recommend Ray-Ban. And so that's the name of a company, and they're just these blue knee sleeves. All of these products, all these tools, which I'm going to be mentioning throughout the episode, I'll have a link in the show notes. And so you can click on that link, and you'll be able to look at all these products. So Ray-Ban for mere comfort, or the Slingshot knee sleeves, which is also, those are both top-of-the-line products for comfortable knee sleeves. If you're looking for something that's a little more bang for your buck, I would recommend the Elite FTS single-ply knee sleeves. And again, I'll have all the links in the description. If you're looking just to pump out max strength, I would recommend they're called SBD knee sleeves or the Strawn sleeves. The Strawn sleeves is the same company that makes the Slingshot knee sleeves, but the Strawn ones are, again, more for strength, a little tighter, a little better for competition, or if you're more looking to squeeze as much strength as possible. For a bane of your buck, if you're looking for something that's going to be a tight one for strength, I'd also recommend Titan and Elite FTS double ply. So all of those I'll have in the description, and you can check those out. But I also want to reiterate this. Make sure to measure for size before you buy them. I had bought a pair of knee sleeves. I think I had to get like triple XL, and I was like, triple XL? I'm not that big. And it turns out the triple XL were a little tight on me. So make sure that you measure for size. All these websites will have a chart you can look at to measure. I think you just measure like around right above your knee and your like calves, and it'll tell you a sleeve that will fit. Go by what they tell you, and don't go by kind of what you think you would be. And if you're in doubt, always go a size bigger. You'd rather have it a little bigger than too snug where you can't even use it. And no one wants to be excited, get it in the mail, and then have to send it back. That's the worst. So make sure you go a little bigger. So that wraps up knee sleeves. And now we're going to be talking about wrist wraps. Oh, no pun intended there with wrapping things up, and wrist wraps and knee wraps. That wasn't planned, so I'm not that corny. All right, wrist wraps are my number 2 tool that I use to fuel my strength. And so basically what it does is just adds tightness to your wrists. Just that tightness allows you to handle a little more heavy weight without your wrists giving out. So you can pretty much, it's really versatile. You could pretty much use it for any compound lift. I specifically only use it for squat and bench press, but you could also use it for deadlift, military press, or heavy rows, especially if you're ever doing an overhand grip. You're really going to want to be using wrist wraps. And so the great thing about wrist wraps is that they are accepted in every federation. as long as you remove the thumb wrap. So I'm going to be talking a little later how to wrap your wrists, and I'll explain what the thumb wrap is. But if you don't have the thumb wrap, then it's allowed in almost every federation. Just to clarify on that, if you are going to be competing in powerlifting in the IPF Federation, if you don't know what that is, ignore this. But if you're going to be competing in the IPF, you want to make sure that you get wrist wraps that are IPF approved, because that federation is very, very strict in comparison to other federations, and that includes their equipment. So make sure you get one that's IPF approved. So how to wrap your wrists. So you're going to there's a thumb loop that's attached to, how do I describe it? Just a wrap. So it's just a long rectangle, and then there's a thumb loop that's attached to the end of that rectangle. This is the worst description ever. It's really hard to do this over voice, but once you get your wrist wraps, you're going to secure the thumb loop over the thumb, and then you're going to pull the wrap really tight around your wrist, and then you're going to wrap it against your chest. Then you're going to pull the wrap arm up while pulling the wrap down with your free hand. You want to push the wrap arm away while pulling the wrap close with a free hand. And you're going to repeat this for 3 to 5 times until the wrap runs out. And then you secure the wrap with a Velcro attachment, and then you'll remove that thumb loop, since having that thumb loop is not allowed in almost every powerlifting federation. I will probably put a link to what I just described, or maybe a video, because it's probably really hard to listen over voice, but that's how you would wrap your wrists when you do get them. So as far as brands I personally use Elite FTS, and they were cheap and they do the job. You pretty much, with wrist wraps, they all pretty much do the same thing. There's not one that really stands out other than there's nothing that really stands out from one brand in comparison to another brand. So I use Elite FTS. I think it's a good bang for your buck. You can also get the brand Titan wrist wraps, or the Gainz wraps, which is from the brand Slingshot. So, and the Gainz wraps I know for sure are IPF approved. So if you're in that situation, I would recommend the Gainz wraps. The Gainz wraps. So that is all for the wrist wraps. Again, they're very versatile. You can use it for pretty much anything. And if you're trying to squeeze out as much strength as possible on your bench, you definitely need wrist wraps. But it's also good for, I like it when I go heavy for squats. I don't know if it really does much, but it kind of gives me at least that mental thought that I have a little extra support. So it's nice to have. So the third tool that you're going to need to use to increase your strength that I use is chalk. It's simple. You sweat and you lose your grip. When you apply chalk onto your hands, you get a stronger grip and you can lift more weight. And so not only, a lot of people don't know this, but you not only can use it for your hands, but you also can put it on your back. So if you get sweaty and your back kind of, when you're benching, it slides on the bench, chalk is good to put on your back to reduce that issue. And you can also put on your squats, not on your squats, you can put on your back when you're squatting, or kind of more like the trap area, to reduce sliding of the bar as you're squatting. So it's versatile. You'll use this so much, and if you go to a gym that doesn't allow chalk, it's probably a lame gym and you should leave. I'm half joking there, but you really, using chalk makes a huge difference. Like if I don't have chalk, I can't lift heavy weight, and if I can't lift heavy weight, then what's the point? And some people have told me someone told me to wash my hands with water and then dry them off, and that might help, but that has not helped me at all. So I recommend getting chalk. It's super cheap. You can get it on Amazon. Again, the link will be in the description of this episode. And if your gym really doesn't allow chalk, you could also use a rosin bag, which is what baseball players use, and it's basically will give a bit of chalk on your hand without making a whole mess. You can also use liquid chalk, but I heard that is really discomforting and awful, so don't say I didn't warn you. So again, all those products, I'll put one for just regular gym chalk, one for a rosin bag and one for a liquid chalk if you guys are interested. I'll put those in the description. So that's chalk. You need it. That should be a no-brainer, and it's cheap. So I would definitely get that if you can. And so tool number 4 that I use to fuel my strength, it's smelling salts. Now this one is probably the one I'd label the most optional. And so what smelling salts are, it has the active ingredient of ammonium carbonate, and it's used to give an extra kick after for a single heavy lift. So for instance, when I'm at my powerlifting meets, before my second or third attempt, it comes in this like a little white tube, and you crack it and you snip it from about your chest level, and you just want to breathe in all that that smelling salts. And what it does is when inhaled, it irritates the mucous membranes of the nose, throat, and lungs, which stimulates the body to breathe more quickly. So you get a little rush through your body, and you get the ability to breathe more, which is, again, crucial if you're trying to lift heavy weight. And so it is a legal natural stimulant that's allowed in every federation. And so it's legal, it's cheap to get online. Again, I'll have a link. I like it for extra a little kick, but I only use it very, very seldomly. So I only use it if I'm at my powerlifting meets or if I'm going for like an absolute PR in the gym. And it sounds sketchy, and if you're nervous, then I wouldn't use them. But from what I've researched, a small quantity, very seldomly, is not going to really affect your health negatively. So that's kind of my take on it, and if you guys are interested, go ahead with that. So as for my 5th tool that I use to fuel my strength, this one I would put there up with chalk, which is something you got to have if you're a powerlifter, and it's a belt. So when you use a belt for lifting, a lot of people think that the main purpose of it is to prevent injury in your back. However, it honestly just allows you to have faster bar speed. You can increase your bar speed from 6 to 50% when you start using a belt. With lifting heavy weights, that is crucial. So if you have a higher bar speed, you're going to lift more weight. And so the reason this works like that is because it creates intra-abdominal pressure. And so it's between 15 and 40% higher when you train with a belt. It also causes spinal shrinkage, so you shrink your spine by 25 to 50% less. And all of that is going to help with pushing up weights when you're squatting or when you're trying to pull the weight up when you're deadlifting. And so I would definitely recommend it for squat and deadlift. You definitely want to lift with a belt when you're going for PRs, or I use it all the time. Some people like to do a lot of beltless training. The research I've seen, there's kind of not a huge impact of lifting beltless. I like to always train with a belt when I start doing my actual sets. So I'd recommend a belt for everyone. There's some studies that say it might activate your quads and hamstrings a little bit on the squat, and I'm not positive about that, but all the science and research about it aside, you can lift more weight. It's as simple as I can put it. You have a belt, you'll be able to lift more weight, and it just gives you a sense of comfort when you're lifting, which is not only has these physical benefits, but I think it also has a big mental benefit. And so if you want more research on this, I'm going to put a link to an article where I kind of read up on this, and this is from strengththeory.com, which is a fantastic resource. It is the best resource I have seen for lifting. There's no fluff, no false information. This guy seriously studies heavily the science behind lifting, and he's got some great articles on his site. And I wish if we could get him on the show, maybe I'll contact him. But that's strengththeory.com, and I'll have the specific article I'm referencing in the show description. Now, as far as the type of belt, I'm going to get kind of lazy here, but I have an article that I'll also put in the show description, which basically, long story short, you want to go for a single prong, 4-inch wide, 13 millimeter thick leather belt. And so the one that's really popular is called an Inzer belt. I know a lot of people use. I will put some other options in the show notes that are a single prong, 4-inch wide, 13 millimeter thick leather belt. So that's the kind of belt I would recommend if you don't have one, or if you're looking to upgrade. You definitely want something like that to get the most strength out of it, so to speak. So tool number 6, which I use, is Mark Bell's Slingshot. So I mentioned the Slingshot knee sleeves, the Strawn sleeves, the Gainz wraps. Those are all from this guy Mark Bell, and his main product is called the Slingshot. And so what it does, it's for overloading with your bench. So in other words, it's almost like it's just like this large, I'm not even going to try to describe it. There's a link. So it slides through your arms, right above your biceps to the mid-forearms. And as you go down with your bench press, it will stretch as you go down. So when you push it initially off your chest, it'll give you a boost off your chest. And so what that does is you could train from that point right off your chest. So when you're benching, a lot of times where I get stuck, it's right when I get off the chest and I'm extending out. That's kind of my weak point. So using the Slingshot is a tool that allows you to easily work on your lockout and your extension of your bench press, which if you're going to be lifting heavy weights, you definitely want to target weak points. That's a huge part to the sport of powerlifting. So I would recommend this tool. And the reason I like it, because it works like blocks. If you know what I'm talking about, you'll know. But if you don't know what blocks are, I'm not going to be really describing those, but it's basically a block that goes on your chest. You could target the specific point of your bench press where you want to work on locking out, and there's some are thicker than others. So you could do like a 1-board block, which is going to be right off your chest, or you could do like a 2-board block, which is a little higher up. And so I like the Slingshot because it works like blocks. However, if you try to bench with the block on your chest by yourself, it's a little difficult. And there's been some times where I've gotten into some serious, scary situations because I've gotten the barbell stuck on my chest with this block because the block kind of slid off and it's just a mess. So the Slingshot is great for being able to handle more weight, work on your extension without having to use blocks by yourself. And so it's great to use on your own, and it helps you to handle heavier weight as well. So that's going to increase your comfort and confidence. You can do usually 3 reps of your 1-rep max when you're using this. So it's going to give you the mental confidence that you can handle more weight, and it's going to give your body that kind of that feel and adjustment of handling the heavier weight. So I really like this product, and I do recommend it. This one's definitely more optional. I don't think this is something that's mandatory or that everyone needs on it right away, but it is a great tool. And so I'll have this product in the description, but there's 3 different types. There's a blue Slingshot, there's a yellow Slingshot, and there's the original red Slingshot. I would just go with the original red Slingshot, which I have linked in the description. All right, so that wraps up the 6th tool, and now going into our last tool that I use to increase my strength. And this is one I'm actually really starting to use more recently. This has been a recent development in my training, but it's resistance bands. Luckily, my gym has a bunch of resistance bands, but if you don't have them, you can get them online, and they're fairly cheap. And so what's good about them is you can use them for stretching. They're very versatile, so you can use them for stretching. So if you want to stretch your hamstrings, for example, you could lay on your back, wrap this resistance band around the bottom of your foot, and you could pull your foot towards your head, and you could stretch that way. But it's also really good for doing variations in your squat, deadlift, and bench. And so you could do things like you put 2 resistant bands on the end of the barbell, and you kind of hook them up on the top of the powerlifting rack. And so you could do like, those are called reverse squats. And so it's just giving you a different variation of the lift. And so it's just going to add resistance. And so it's a different type of, maybe you kind of work specific points that you don't always work. So it's like the Slingshot I was talking about. You're going to be using variations to address specific weak points. So you could do stuff like reverse bands with squats. For deadlifts, I do conventional deadlifts with a resistance band, so I'll kind of put the resistance band over the barbell, and I'll put my feet on the resistance band, but it'll be set up so you have the resistance bands on top of the bar and under your feet, so it's going to add resistance as you do the deadlift. And I'll put a video for that because that's really hard to describe, but it's going to put resistance on your deadlift, so it's going to really, for me, it's really helped me on my lockout. That's something I've been struggling with a little lately, and so it's easy for me to get the weight up like about at my knee level, but then to get it up the rest of the way with the resistance of the band, it's really helped me to train my lockout. So I really enjoy it. Again, you can use it for bench press. I'll put some videos up because I'm not even going to bother describing it, but you can use it for variations and you can use it for stretching. So if you have the money, I would definitely recommend resistance bands. So guys, that wraps up the 7 tools that I use. Those are kind of the basic ones that I could think of. There's probably some more. Maybe we'll do another episode of some different tools, but those are the ones that kind of I use and I've really enjoyed and that I would recommend to everyone. And it's pretty obvious, if you don't have the money for this, it's not necessary. All you need is a barbell, weight, and yourself and a good mentality. That's all you need to lift, and that should be your main focus. But if you're going to be competing, you're really going to want these things. They really do make a difference, and they help you a lot if you're training. And another thing is like spending the money. It almost will help you mentally in your training. And so what I mean by that is like when I purchased all this gear, it just made me excited to lift. I was like, wow, look at all this gear I have. This is, and I was excited to go to the gym and use it, and it gave me that mental motivation. I'm not saying buy it just to get mental motivation. You don't need this stuff, but it does make you hungry, and it does allow you to do different things of training to progress. And especially in your meet, and you want to squeeze out as much strength as possible, some of these tools are going to be really helpful for that. So again, guys, all of this is not necessary. So please do not feel like you have to spend all your money on these products. But I do recommend them if you really want to take powerlifting seriously. And some of these, like I said, are going to be useful not just for powerlifting, but for other sports as well, and just general training. So if you are interested, as I've already mentioned several times, we have links in the description. Some of these are affiliate links, and maybe I should make a note of which ones are affiliate links in the description, which basically means that we get a slice of the profit and no additional cost to you. So we're not, don't want to say you have to buy these things. We need to make all this money, but I mean, I think it's going to be like 5% to 10% for these affiliate links, so it's really not a lot of money that we're getting, but it basically just takes away money from these companies and gives it to us at no additional cost to you. So if you are interested in buying these after hearing these, use the links in the description. I'll note which ones are affiliate links, so that way we could get a slice of the profit, again, at no additional cost to you. And again, please do not feel like this is a big, a big sales pitch for you got buy all these things. But if you're going to buy them, if you're interested in them, go ahead and purchase them when you can afford it. And if you'd like to help us out, you can use affiliate links in the description. Alright guys, so that wraps up the 7 tools I use to fuel my strength. However, I'm going to give a couple more tools for theology. Going to make it a little brief, but let's go ahead and take a break and we'll be right back. So stay tuned, guys. Alright guys, and welcome back to the second half of episode 19 of Baking Bibles and Barbells. This is weird. I like kind of coming back and I like to, when I edit this, I'll put in the kind of conversation that we're coming back to at the second half, but this is weird. It's by myself, so let's just get started. Got no conversation. So, 2 tools that I use for studying theology. So we're going to be putting the Bibles and Bacon, Bibles and Barbells right now. And so, and just to kind of give you a heads up, that's actually something we've kind of been thinking about more, is that when we progress with this podcast, to kind of talk a little more about theology. Again, we are a fitness podcast, but we like to show that, we're dynamic. We're people that like to study theology, and we're people that also like to lift, and so we kind of want to incorporate that a little more. I guess I want to make a note of that. But so 2 tools I use for studying theology. I just discovered this past weekend, and it was super helpful for me. So I downloaded this app on my desktop called Natural Readers. And so what it does is it allows you to copy and paste a Word document or just text right into this application. And what it does is it will read what you pasted back to you. And so I download, it's called Natural Readers. It's free. There is a paid version for like $70, which gets you a little more natural reading voices, because it's the ones that they give you do sound a little more choppy, but for the money I have, I'm dealing with it. But it's really helpful for me. So I like to just open this up, and I'll copy and paste some text of something I want to read, and it'll read it back to me. And it just really helps me to follow along. I'll have it open. I'll still be reading it as it's, I just don't feel like it's as active and draining because it's being read back to me. And so that's been cool. And you can also change the speed at which it reads it back to you. So I like to have it on speed 4. That's now 4 times. I don't know what exactly it is, like, and how much faster it is, but it has the option. I select it to speed 4, and then the speaker. I download this English speaker. It's called Lucy Trial 22K. You could download that, and that's kind of been my favorite voice that I like to have read back at me. And then what I'll do, because to make it a little more dynamic, is I'll open YouTube and I'll play just kind of like a mellow instrumental in the background at a very, very low sound, and then I'll have it read the text back to me, and so that way it makes it a little more dynamic and a little more easier to listen to. And so I really like that. So get Natural Readers, and then use YouTube instrumentals. And for the actual texts that I use to paste into here to study, is I go to monergism.com, and you can basically search any theologian, different topics, and it has a lot of web pages it will link you to. And web pages are probably the best because you could just copy and paste them right into this application. Whereas like with a PDF, there's sometimes some like it'll read the footnotes and just things I don't want to do. So I like to just use web pages. And so obviously, if you're using web pages, the only free resource for theology are going to be kind of more of some older stuff. So like I honestly haven't listened to anything later than like 18th century. So I've been listening to a lot of stuff from like the 16th, 17th, and 18th century, just because there's so much stuff on the website. As you can see if you go to monergism.com. So I like to use that. And another tool you could use is have Natural Readers. So if you don't want to have this text read back to you, you can paste text into, it's called swift-reader.com. And basically what it does is it like highlights one word, like one letter of a word, and it goes through and it plays it really fast in a black background. And for whatever reason, it helps you to kind of like speed read. The issue with that is like I could read something faster, but I don't retain it very well, or at least I haven't trained myself to retain it that well. So I like the Natural Readers a little more, because like if I'm listening to something and reading it, even if it's a little fast, that's a little easier for me than if I'm just speed reading something really fast. But that might be useful for you guys too, to if you're short on time, to go to swift-reader.com. And so I'll have all these links in the description as well. A lot of links, a lot of links today, but hope they're all valuable. So I thought I'd go ahead and just, some of you guys are interested, what I've been reading or different theologians that I'm going through right now that have been up for free. And so I'm reading Abrakel, Christian's Reasonable Service, which is a 4-volume systematic theology that was online for free. And so I was able to download that and have portions of that read back to me at times. So I'm really excited about that. Also reading some Durham, reading some George Gillespie, and also have some Patrick Gillespie. Reading some John Knox. I just read The Mass Idolatry and his kind of summary on the Lord's Supper. That was really good. I've got a commentary on the entire Heidelberg Catechism that I'm looking forward to using. Let's see what else I've on here. I have Francis Turretin, who's really, really good. I've got one of his some text against consubstantiation, or the Lutheran view of the Lord's Supper, his doctrine of hell. I just listened to, these are pretty short, Predestination. It's got some good stuff on that. Some Samuel Rutherford, the Systematic Theology of John Brown of Haddington, Thomas Watson, Sermon Against Popery, God's Anatomy Upon Man's Heart, A Christian on Earth Still in Heaven, Rutherford, I've got something on Arminianism, the Covenant of Redemption Against Separatism, David Dixon. So yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff that I'm looking forward to. And the nice thing about using like web pages is that like there's some websites that you find on Monergism that they're not very long. So instead of having to like copy and paste like one book at a time into this application, I recommend just doing it like chapter by chapter or piece by piece. Because whenever I read, I become so obsessed with just wanting to finish it instead of just wanting to like retain the information. So if I break everything into smaller chunks, I could it's not as long of a process for me to finish it, and so I don't become as like obsessive about it. And I could just do things like piece by piece, and maybe it helps me better to like schedule that in. So like at night, I'll just do like one chapter a day instead of having to like just pick up a book and read it. Those are tools I like because I hate ebooks, but those make it a little easier for me to save money and study some theology. So guys, that is pretty much everything I want to talk about in this episode. I know we've had a lot of links, but 2 other links I want to mention. I'm going to put an affiliate link to tigerfitness.com, which is a bunch of supplements. So you guys if you're going to be purchasing supplements, you can use that affiliate link, and again, it'll give us a slice of their profit, which is cool. And the product I recommend is MTS Whey. They have a peanut butter fluff and a no-bake cookie whey protein, and I think the macros are like 4 grams of fat, 5 grams of carbs, and 25 grams of protein. So it's really good stuff, and I think it's like, right now, it's like $55 for 5 pounds, so it's pretty cheap, and it's really, really delicious. So if you guys are interested, again, this is only if you want to, go to that affiliate link in the description, tigerfitness.com, and help us out. We also have another affiliate with Enhanced Body Formulations. He's a member of the group, and he runs this company, and he's a Christian, so that's kind of cool to be an affiliate with him. And so it's enhancedbodyformulations.com. He's got some supplements, so we'll link his supplement store in the description. You can also use that if you're interested. And so, guys, that pretty much wraps up all I want to talk about. And, guys, thanks for tuning in to this episode. Hope that even though we lacked other co-hosts, we didn't lack on content. And so if you'd like to contact us, the best way to be to join our Facebook group, Bacon, Bibles, and Barbells, and make sure not to miss out on the great conversations we're having there. You can also contact us via email at baconbiblesandbarbells. No, not and. Bacon, Bibles, Barbells, all one word, at gmail.com. And so, guys, feel free to contact us, and we love you guys, and Gainz and Grace.